In 1959, 9 Soviet university students set out on a hiking trip into Siberia's frozen wilderness, but never returned. Recently, new evidence has emerged about the Dyatlov Pass incident, challenging the widely accepted avalanche theory regarding their mysterious deaths. According to these new findings, no avalanche occurred, raising significant questions about what truly happened that fateful night. Join us as we examine this new perspective and delve deeper into the chilling details of the Dyatlov Pass case. The Dyatlov Pass incident in 1959. Igor Dyatlov led a group of 10 explorers on a challenging skiing expedition through the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute, assembled a team of fellow students and peers for this ambitious journey. Their goal wasn't just recreational. They aimed to achieve Grade 3 accreditation, the highest level for Soviet hikers, which required a 300-kilometer trek across difficult terrain. The group was well prepared, with each member holding Grade 2 hiking certificates and ski trip experience. On January 25, 1959, they departed from Sverdlovsk, equipped with everything they needed for the adventure. But fate had other plans. Shortly after starting, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill with rheumatism and a congenital heart condition, forcing him to return home on January 28th. Little did he know that this decision would ultimately save his life. Despite Yudin's departure, the remaining 9 continued their journey, determined to conquer the northern Urals. They navigated through rugged terrain, facing harsh weather conditions. On January 31st, they reached a valley leading to Dyatlov Pass, where they prepared for their ascent. However, a severe snowstorm diverted them from their planned route, leading them to the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, also known as Dead Mountain in the local language. Despite the extreme weather, the group pressed on, likely motivated by their goal. As night fell, they set up camp on the mountain's exposed slopes, enduring temperatures below negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Exhausted and cold, they sought shelter in their tent. What happened next remains a mystery. The details of the following days are scarce, pieced together from camp journals and later investigations. When the group missed a scheduled check-in, their families and authorities grew concerned. On February 26th, search teams discovered the group's abandoned and damaged tent on Kholat Syakhl. The scene was baffling, with the tent partially collapsed and covered in snow. All the group's belongings and shoes were missing, and the tent showed signs of being cut from the inside, suggesting a hasty escape. As searchers followed the group's tracks, they found the bodies of some members scattered across the mountain slopes. Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin were found in positions suggesting they were trying to return to the tent. More bodies were found over 2 months later, buried under several meters of snow in a ravine deeper than the pine tree near their camp. The investigation into the Dyatlov Pass tragedy has sparked numerous theories, ranging from natural causes like an avalanche to more sinister explanations, such as military involvement or even paranormal activity. Despite extensive efforts to uncover the truth, the exact circumstances of the disaster remain unknown, making the Dyatlov Pass incident one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. The Dyatlov Pass incident is one of the most baffling events in recent history. Igor Dyatlov led a group of 9 experienced hikers into the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia, but they never returned. The investigation into their deaths revealed a series of unexplained events that have intrigued people for decades. When the hikers failed to return on time, a search began. Rescuers found their tent severely damaged. It was partially collapsed, covered with snow, and had been ripped apart from the inside. It appeared the hikers had fled in panic. The tent contained neatly arranged shoes, clothing, equipment, and partially cooked food, suggesting the group was abruptly interrupted. The first 2 bodies, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, were found 300 meters from the tent near a small fire. Both were dressed only in their underwear, which was unusual given the negative 25 degree to negative 30 degrees Celsius temperatures. Krivonishenko had burns and a piece of flesh in his mouth, indicating he might have bitten his hand in pain or despair. Medical tests confirmed both died of hypothermia. Igor Dyatlov, Zenaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin were found dead a few days later, near the tent. Dyatlov and Kolmogorova appeared to have died while trying to return to the tent. Slobodin, like the others, died of hypothermia after sustaining a minor skull fracture. The positions of the bodies suggested they were disoriented and struggled to return to camp. The mystery deepened when the last 4 hikers were found in May after the snow had melted. The bodies were located in a ravine under several feet of snow. Medical examinations revealed unusual and severe injuries. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had a severely fractured skull. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov had suffered massive chest fractures comparable to those from a car crash. There were no external wounds associated with these fractures, suggesting extreme pressure. Dubinina was also missing her tongue, eyes, lips, and facial tissue. Zolotaryov and Alexander Kolevatov were missing their eyebrows and eyes. Forensic expert Vladimir Vostrozdenny suggested these injuries were likely caused post-mortem by the bodies being in a fast-moving stream. The official investigation concluded that 6 hikers died from exposure to the cold and 3 from fatal injuries. There was no evidence that others were involved in their deaths. There were no signs of struggle, just the footprints of the hikers. Investigators were further puzzled by the tent's interior and the hikers' belongings. Some speculated that the local Mansi tribe might have attacked the group for trespassing on their territory, but this theory was quickly dismissed due to the lack of evidence. The absence of defensive wounds or signs of a struggle, along with the unique injuries, made this hypothesis unlikely. The idea of a wild animal attack was also considered, but ruled out due to the lack of physical injuries. The hikers' clothing was found to have radioactive contamination, which was unusual. Some theories suggested a secret Soviet military experiment or a nuclear disaster. Several hikers had participated in the cleanup after the 1957 Kyshtym nuclear incident. It was unclear why the clothing was highly radioactive, and the possibility of a failed weapons test remained. The peculiar circumstances surrounding the Dyatlov Pass incident have sparked various theories. Some of the most unusual include Yeti attacks, secret KGB operations, and even extraterrestrial involvement. Witnesses reported seeing strange lights in the sky, raising suspicions about UFOs or military training involving parachute mines. Lev Ivanov, the case's lead investigator, mentioned that his team saw flying spheres, but was instructed to ignore these claims. The case gained renewed attention in 1990 with Anatoly Gushchin's book, The Price of State Secrets is 9 Lives, which suggested that the hikers might have fallen victim to a Soviet secret weapon experiment. While the book was criticized for speculation, it brought new attention to the case and encouraged previously silent witnesses to share new information. In 1999, the Dyatlov Foundation was established to continue the investigation and honor the hikers' memories. Yuri Kuntsevich, with support from the Ural State Technical University, led the effort to gather and analyze all related data. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, focusing on explanations involving avalanches, slab avalanches, and hurricanes. They found no evidence of criminal activity. However, the new investigation was inconclusive since there were clear traces of the tent and no snowslides were observed. Some experts remain skeptical of the avalanche theory. Another recent theory suggests that the hikers were caught in a failed Soviet ballistic missile test. In 2023, new evidence pointed to a failed rocket launch that produced a nitric acid cloud. According to this theory, the toxic fog caused confusion and fear, driving the hikers to flee their tent and ultimately perish in the extreme cold. Despite the various theories, no single explanation accounts for all the strange details of the Dyatlov Pass incident. The mysterious deaths of these 9 hikers continue to puzzle and inspire researchers, leading to ongoing investigations. This case remains one of the most puzzling and unresolved mysteries of the 20th century. With the severe injuries, unusual radiation, and absence of human intervention, leaving many questions unanswered. In July 2020, Andrei Kuryakov, deputy chief of the Prosecutor General's office, stated that an avalanche was responsible for the Dyatlov group's deaths. Independent studies and computer simulations by Swiss experts supported the idea that an avalanche was likely the cause of the tragedy. This explanation provided insight into the bizarre events of that fateful night. Kuryakov suggested that the group's unusual behavior was a response to the threat of an avalanche. Experienced mountaineers facing such a threat might behave similarly. The group's sudden decision to abandon their tent, seek shelter in the woods, start a fire, and build a snow shelter was consistent with standard avalanche survival techniques. Their knowledge of avalanches likely led them to believe that they were in immediate danger, prompting their quick departure. Benjamin Radford, an American skeptic, also dismissed Yeti theories, arguing that the Dyatlov Pass incident was caused by an avalanche. Radford believed the group panicked when an avalanche blocked the tent door, or they perceived the threat of one. Unprepared for the cold, they fled to the woods to regroup and start a fire. Their clothing, left behind in the tent, was lost to the elements before they could retrieve it. While these explanations are compelling, the avalanche theory has its inconsistencies. The absence of typical avalanche signs, such as disturbed snow or debris, challenges this theory. Numerous expeditions to the site after the incident reported no conditions conducive to an avalanche. Detailed topographical and slope analyses also contradicted the avalanche theory, noting that the terrain would have diverted any landslide away from the tent. Additionally, the tent's sideways collapse was inconsistent with patterns typically seen in avalanche scenarios. The group's movement into the woods showed no signs of panic, suggesting a more organized retreat. Between 2015 and 2019, experienced investigators from the Investigative Committee of the Russian Federation reviewed the initial findings and added crucial data to support the avalanche theory. These investigators suggested that hurricane-force winds, heavy snowfall, and temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius might have contributed to the group's tragic actions. Despite these revelations, questions and new theories persist. The Russian government continued investigating the Dyatlov Pass incident in 2019, attributing it to a slab avalanche. Further research and mathematical simulations by Swiss scientists in 2021 supported this theory, suggesting that a small snow slab fell on Holat-Syakhl mountain, causing the damage and injuries. While the avalanche theory is the most widely accepted explanation for the Dyatlov Pass disaster, the exact circumstances remain unclear. Ongoing investigations and scientific research aim to solve the mystery, bringing closure to the families, and honor the brave adventurers who lost their lives that night. In 2019, a Swedish-Russian expedition reached the Dyatlov Pass. They proposed that a powerful katabatic wind was the cause of the tragic events. Katabatic winds are rare, but can be deadly. In 1978, such winds killed 8 hikers and severely injured another during the Inaris Mountain tragedy in Sweden. The similar terrain of Inaris Mountain and the Dyatlov Pass lends credibility to the idea that katabatic winds may have caused both disasters. Under the intense katabatic wind at Dyatlov Pass, the hikers would have struggled to stay inside their tent. The best course of action would have been to cover the tent with snow to prevent it from being blown away, and then seek shelter behind the trees. The hikers left a flashlight on top of the tent, possibly to help them find their way back once the wind subsided. The expedition suggested building 2 biovac shelters. However, one collapsed, burying 4 hikers and causing severe injuries. Donnie Eicher, in his 2013 book, Dead Mountain, explored the infrasound theory. According to this idea, wind over Holat-Syakhl mountain created a katabatic vortex that generated infrasound, causing feelings of fear. Eicher suggested that the infrasound caused physical and mental distress in the hikers, leading them to flee their tent in panic. Once they descended the slope and left the infrasound behind, they may have calmed down. However, the darkness prevented them from finding their way back to the tent. 3 of the hikers suffered fatal injuries after falling into a dark ravine and hitting rocks. 3 potential explanations include military testing. The campsite might have been used for a Soviet parachute mine exercise. In this case, powerful explosions could have terrified the hikers, causing them to flee their tents without adequate gear. While some survived the blasts, they later died of hypothermia, and others who took clothing from the deceased were likely killed by additional mine explosions. Parachute mines detonate in the air, leading to severe internal injuries with minimal external damage, similar to what was found in the hikers. These ideas are supported by reports of orange orbs in the sky near the site, which could have been military aircraft or parachute mines. The loss of Dubinina's tongue could have been due to scavenging animals. Signs of livor mortis, scars, and burning on hair and skin suggest the bodies were altered after death. The hikers were experienced and unlikely to have set up their tents improperly, as shown in the images. Some items showed traces of radioactivity, and relatives described the deceased as having an orange complexion and gray hair, hinting at the possibility of radiological weapons testing. This radioactive spread would have affected all the hikers and their belongings. The discoloration was most likely caused by mummification, a natural process after 3 months of exposure to cold and wind. The initial withholding of information by Soviet officials suggests a cover-up, a common practice in the late 1980s. All Dyatlov-related files have since been declassified. Paradoxical undressing, a behavior triggered by hypothermia in which individuals remove their clothing in response to a false sensation of warmth, might explain some of the hikers' actions. 6 of the 9 hikers died of hypothermia, though some put on extra clothing to stay warm. This theory does not explain the extensive injuries found on several bodies. Yuri Kuntsievich of the Dyatlov Foundation and Keith McCloskey, a Dyatlov Pass expert, visited the site in 2015. McCloskey noted discrepancies in the distances between 2 possible snow shelter locations where some of the hikers were found. One site was 80 to 100 meters from the tree where Doroshenko and Krivonishenko's bodies were discovered. The other proposed site was closer to the tree, allowing for conversation without shouting between those in the shelter. Photos from the 1959 search suggest the second site, which includes the boulder in the creek where Dubinina's body was found, is more likely. The 10th location on the ridge was too close to the spur to allow for significant snow accumulation that could cause an avalanche. Ridge winds would have blown snow away from the edge, reducing the avalanche risk. In 2010, Sergei Sogrin observed the ridge summit's lack of snow. In a 2015 interview, Yevgeny Okishev, who was Lev Ivanov's superior, mentioned planning another trip to the pass to investigate the mysterious deaths of the remaining 4 hikers. McCloskey noted that after returning from Moscow, Deputy Prosecutor General Yurov concluded the case. Okishev also found it unusual that Kleinov, the head of the Soviet prosecutor's office, spent 3 days at the initial autopsies. After analyzing the situation and filming a documentary, Donny Eicher explored other theories that were ultimately dismissed. These included an attack by the Mansi or other local tribes, but the Mansi were peaceful and did not approach the tent. Another dismissed theory was that the group was attacked by wildlife, though no animal tracks were found, and the hikers would not have left the tent. The idea that strong winds caused one person to flee, with others following in an attempt to rescue them, is also unlikely, as the tent would have been blown away. The group dynamics were peaceful, with only minor flirtations and crushes, making it unlikely that a quarrel led to violence. There were no drugs at the site, and only a small flask of medicinal alcohol, which remained intact. One of the bodies sustained injuries too severe to have been caused by a fight. Each theory provides insight into what happened to the 9 hikers, but none is conclusive. New evidence and theories continue to fuel interest among experts and the public in solving the mystery. The Dyatlov Pass incident has puzzled people for decades, but recent research offers a scientific explanation for the tragedy. A 2019 federal Russian investigation and a 2021 study suggested that the hikers were killed by a slab avalanche, which occurs when a large block of snow detaches from a deeper layer and moves downhill. The slab avalanche theory had previously been questioned for several reasons, including the site's relatively low slope angle, lack of clear signs of an avalanche, uncertainty about what triggered the avalanche, and the unusual injuries sustained by the victims. However, a 2021 study by Swiss scientists Johann Gaume and Alexander Puzerin in Communications, Earth and Environment supports this theory. Gaume and Puzerin suggested that a slab avalanche might have occurred even without the type of conditions for a standard avalanche. The avalanche likely began right above the tent while the hikers were asleep, injuring some and forcing them to cut their way out of the tent to escape. They proposed that wind could have accumulated snow on the slope near the tent, triggering a slab avalanche. This would require irregular topography, a cut slope for the tent setup, and strong katabatic winds to build up the snow. These conditions could have caused a slab of snow to fall on the sleeping hikers, resulting in significant but non-fatal injuries. According to autopsy reports, many hikers had severe chest and head injuries similar to those seen in car accident victims, supporting the idea that a snowstorm during sleep could have been traumatic. The hikers likely fled the tent in panic after the avalanche, which could explain why their bodies were found undressed and injured. Most of the hikers ultimately died from hypothermia due to the extreme weather and inadequate clothing. Gaume and Puzerin tested their theory by simulating the event using weather data. The simulation showed how a slab avalanche could have impacted the hikers. The severe injuries found during the autopsies might have been caused by the sudden snowfall while they were lying flat on their backs. This explanation does not account for everything about the Dyatlov Pass incident, such as why one hiker's tongue was missing, which could have been caused by scavenging animals, but it does offer a scientific alternative to the more extreme conspiracy theories. Gaume stated that they did not solve the mystery, but rather confirmed the plausibility of the avalanche theory. The study includes findings from winter and summer 2021 expeditions, as well as modeling. These expeditions debunked the idea that the slopes at Dyatlov Pass were too gentle for avalanches. The summer expedition revealed natural step-like dips that can lead to slab avalanches. These features might have misled the experienced hikers into thinking their camp was safe. The researchers noted that the slopes of these step-like features exceeded 28 degrees, with some areas steeper than 30 degrees. The tent was likely set up below one of these continuous slopes. The 2021 winter expedition found slab avalanches a few miles from Dyatlov Pass. Another expedition in January 2022 encountered two experienced mountain guides in low visibility and strong winds that overturned their snowmobiles, similar to the 1959 incident. The guides discovered two snow slab avalanches that disappeared within an hour of the snowstorm. The Dyatlov rescue team found no evidence of an avalanche 3 weeks after the incident and had never seen one there before. Given that severe weather makes the pass difficult to access and small slab avalanches can vanish quickly, the new analysis supports either models and provides details on how the hikers died. Although Putzrin and Gaum do not claim to have solved the mystery, their research offers a plausible explanation for the Dyatlov Pass incident. They stated that while the investigation is ongoing, their involvement has concluded. The snow slab or avalanche theory may not be as sensational as government conspiracies or attacks by mythical creatures, but it offers some comfort to the victims' families. It provides a likely explanation for the tragedy, though some questions still remain. Russian authorities have committed to using advanced forensics and analysis to gather more information about the incident. Gaum and Putzrin reviewed the data and determined that the campsite had a slight incline. It was actually 30 degrees, making it susceptible to avalanches. Earlier investigators believed the snow slope was gentler due to the area's uneven terrain and snowfall. The hikers' tent trench might have destabilized the snow slab above them. According to the hikers' notes, strong winds may have contributed to the avalanche. While the snow slab caused panic and disaster for the hikers, their bedding was on skis, and the rushing snow and hard, inflexible material could have caused severe injuries. The hikers likely tried to help each other, but the cold and lack of proper equipment ultimately led to their deaths. The snow slab avalanche theory may not be as thrilling as theories involving government cover-ups or mysterious creatures, but it does provide some closure for the grieving families. The case remains open, but the new research offers a compelling narrative and a possible explanation for the hikers' deaths. With time, new evidence might finally solve the Dyatlov Pass mystery, which has captivated the public for decades. Regardless of conspiracy theories, Gaum and Putzrin's scientific explanation of the tragedy is credible and reasonable. In February 2019, Russian officials revisited the Dyatlov Pass incident, a long-standing mystery and tragedy. This move followed years of pressure from families, the media, and the public, who suspected a cover-up. More than 75 theories have been proposed about the incident, ranging from extraterrestrial abductions and abominable snowmen to radioactive fallout from secret weapons tests and conflicts with indigenous people. The 2019 investigation focused on 3 natural phenomena: avalanches, snow slabs, and hurricanes. Officials found no evidence of criminal activity. A 400-page dossier of original case documents was released as a news conference to support the renewed effort to uncover the truth. Peter Barot, a friend of hiker Igor Dyatlov, attended the news conference and expressed support for the investigation. He praised Dyatlov as a skilled and reliable individual and endorsed the ongoing search for answers about the hiker's fate. Understanding Soviet society at the time is crucial for interpreting the investigation. In the totalitarian Soviet Union, mistakes were often hidden to avoid severe punishment. Acknowledging errors could result in imprisonment, torture, or even death. In such an environment, the government had to protect an image of absolute control and perfection. Theodora Hadza, the founder of DyatlovPass.com, has done extensive research on the case. She translated Russian files into English and compiled a database of all case photographs, evidence, and theories, establishing herself as an expert on the tragedy. Hadza offers an alternative explanation for the events on the mountain. After a thorough analysis of the evidence, she believes that the hikers were actually murdered. Hadza theorizes that the hikers, terrified, fled their tent in a panic and encountered armed individuals. She suggests a brief struggle occurred before the hikers were forced to move to the tree line, where they eventually succumbed to the cold. According to Hadza, the assailants might have initially thought the cold would kill the hikers, but later returned to finish the job when they saw signs of life, including a bonfire. Hadza claims the ordeal lasted several hours, involving multiple attacks and escalating violence, with the harsh alpine conditions adding to the confusion and fear. While Hadza's theory has its challenges, it provides an explanation for the hikers' unusual behavior and deaths. She and other researchers continue to investigate the Dyatlov Pass incident, one of the 20th century's most baffling mysteries. So thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe for more content like this.